Your philosophy in basketball will get you to a certain point. After that, you need individuals to take you to the next step. This quote from 11x national championship winning head coach Gino Orima is a reflection of how the Hall of Fame coach sees the sport, prioritizing the importance of systems, emphasizing that individual talent is only the next step in making all the difference. Caitlyn Clark's arrival has shown the basketball world just how powerful one individual's influence can be. Despite the undeniable Caitlyn Clark effect, however, Orima believes true growth in the sport requires more than just one star, rather needs a thorough, systematic approach. The Yukon Huskies head coach appeared on a podcast where he discussed how popularity surged in men's basketball and how the same phenomenon is now spilling over into the women's game. While comparing the two, Orima couldn't help but share his honest thoughts on how individual personalities can boost the league's visibility, but sustaining that popularity in the long run requires something more. The point is, where are we going next? And if we think that one kid one Caitlyn Clark is going to be enough to take this where it needs to go, it's not. Or one-page bookers, it's not. What they do is they show you the way, they show you what's possible, and then the people that run the operation have to now capitalize on it, and then the younger generation, the high school people have to prepare these kids, so that when they get to college, we have something good to work with, and then we send them up to the WNBA and then they have something good to work with, Orima explained on Make a Difference with Phil Martelli. There's no denying that the WNBA, despite the recent surge in popularity driven by Caitlyn Clark, is still far from reaching the heights of the NBA. The numbers tell the story. The recent WNBA Finals, one of the most watched in the league's history, drew 3.1 million viewers on ESPN for Game 5. To put that into perspective, the 2024 NBA Finals, even with a slight dip in viewership, had averaged more than 3 times that WNBA number across the series, with 11.3 million viewers. As Orima pointed out, while authorities must capitalize on the current surge in interest, Caitlyn Clark herself had echoed a similar sentiment earlier. Just how it's evolved and in such a short period of time, I think shows everyone, there are real opportunities here and there has been opportunity. So I think that's what's so exciting. So the more we can continue to expand that, the reigning Roddy had said earlier. The Kansas City Chiefs are no strangers to celebrity endorsements, but after their win over the Denver Broncos on Sunday, nobody could have expected that WNBA superstar Caitlyn Clark would voice her support for the defending Super Bowl champions. Kansas City secured its Week 10 victory against Denver in spectacular fashion when budding linebacker Leo Chennault blocked a last-second field goal attempt by Broncos kicker Will Lutz. Now 9-0, the Chiefs will remain the NFL's only undefeated team heading into Week 11, when Kansas City will face the Buffalo Bills at Highmark Stadium in western New York. Clark, who grew up in Des Moines, Iowa, seems to have been following Kansas City's Super Bowl defense campaign this season and was certainly fired up for the Chiefs' latest win. Stay tuned to see if Clark has more input when Kansas City plays Buffalo on November 17. Caitlyn Clark and Aaliyah Boston, the dynamic duo of the Indiana Fever, have had each other's backs throughout the season. That was evident on Thursday night, when Clark tried to push attention toward her teammate in a post-game news conference after the Fever's 89-77 loss to the Seattle Storm. Clark and Boston took the podium together, but the focus was all on the rookie at first. After the 5th straight question directed at Clark, she tried to redirect reporters toward Boston, who was sitting quietly and staring at the stat sheet in her hands. The next reporter then directed the question, about practice, to Boston, followed by a few more. Thursday marked the second and final time this season Indiana would travel to Seattle to play. The moment, while awkward, was a little inevitable, as Seattle journalists only had the chance to get quotes from Clark twice this season. Still, the uncomfortable situation eventually passed. Clark and Boston, the past 2 number 1 overall picks, have become a strong duo on the Fever and have praised each other throughout the season. Although the rookie has gotten more attention, Clark has often tried to push attention toward Boston, the reigning Rookie of the Year and a key piece of the Fever on both sides of the court. After Thursday's loss and a tight loss to the Chicago Sky last weekend, Indiana is 7-12 and sits 9th in the WNBA standings. The Fever play the 9-8 Phoenix Mercury on Sunday and will hope to reverse the skid. The WNBA draft is usually a moment of celebration for those picked by the league's teams. However, Caitlyn Clark shared that her draft experience was far from joyous. Selected number 1 overall by the Indiana Fever, the 22-year-old had little time with the audience as her top pick status meant she was quickly ushered away. On the Fresh Talk podcast, Clark expressed her disappointment at being whisked off stage immediately after shaking hands with WNBA Commissioner Kathy Engelbert, preventing her from meeting loved ones or watching the rest of the draft, including her former teammate Kate Martin's selection. "I was so upset because after I got drafted, I got just drug out immediately and I didn't get to see any of the draft," she lamented to her ex-Hawkeyes teammates Martin, Gabby Marshall, and Jada Giamfi. "I had my phone, I couldn't really go on it. It made me so upset. And then, I didn't even get to see Kate get drafted. It made me really upset." Clark further explained that despite the draft being a happy occasion, the setup prevented her from spending time with those important to her. "I didn't even take pictures with you guys, my family, like Connor, McCaffrey, like no one," she said, reports the Mirror US. Though disappointed she couldn't spend time with her family after being drafted, Clark kept her focus during her rookie season. Not only did she live up to the expectations of the number 1 overall pick, but she also propelled the Fever into the playoffs for the first time since 2016. Moreover, her entry into the WNBA created an economic disruption, a term coined by Hall of Famer Debbie Antonelli. On the C.L. Brown Show, the 60-year-old delved into what she meant, saying, "No one's disrupted the economic marketplace and the ecosystem like she has, leading everyone to take notice." Antonelli emphasized the importance of this shakeup for propelling the sport forward. She went on to describe the influence Clark had on the league's fan base through her first-hand observations and pointed out the diverse range of fans expressing their support for the Fever's standout player as she made her mark in the WNBA. "I can just tell you by what I experienced this summer in the WNBA, watching how many number 22s were walking by, little girls, dads, little boys, college-aged guys. I gotta believe that the game's going to keep evolving on the grassroots level, which I think we were kind of stalled in dropping," she added. "Now, I think girls and women are playing more basketball because, now, they're seeing more opportunities that can be around the game." The Fever superstar is taking a break from basketball and is instead channeling her competitive spirit into golf, where she will compete in the Annika-driven by Gainbridge Pro-Am tournament. Caitlyn Clark and Angel Reese have been going head-to-head since their college days, Clark with the Iowa Hawkeyes and Reese repping LSU. As they transitioned to the W, it was clear CC had the upper hand last season, earning WNBA Rookie of the Year and leading the Indiana Fever to the playoffs. But don't count out the Chicago Sky rookie just yet. While CC is enjoying her downtime, attending games for, and with, her boyfriend, Connor McCaffrey, Reese is already back on the court, grinding it out. Recently, the Hawkeyes former has been spotted courtside at a recent Indiana Pacers New York Knicks game with boyfriend. Fever's X handle confirmed writing, "Caitlyn Clark is courtside for tonight's at Pacers game, fire," with a picture of her beaming. Meanwhile, Reese posted a fierce pic of herself in action on Instagram, caption, "Pretty girl but she a baller," letting everyone know she's set to change next season's story. Unfortunately, the 22-year-old's first season didn't go as planned. Just as she was taking over the rebounding leaderboard, total rebounds per game, and offensive rebounds per game, no less, she was sidelined by a wrist injury. What a year! "I never would have imagined the last bucket of my rookie season would be a 3, but maybe that was God saying, give them a taste of what they'll see more of in year 2, the 7th overall pick of WNBA's draft wrote on Instagram. Despite her season ending early, Angel took pride in her journey. Now, she set her sights on next season. On the flip side, the Fever star broke all records and even landed 4th in MVP voting. But, for the time being, she is still in vacation mode. She has been photographed at multiple Butler Bulldogs games, where McCaffrey is an asked coach, catching up with her Iowa homies, and now at a Pacers game. Reese, on the other hand, has unrivaled to train for, kicking off in January. While it could have been an opportunity for the two to contend for the same team, a possibility Reese had expressed, the Chi-Town Barbie will be carrying on alone. The WNBA rookie took a moment to address the moment, the NCAA championship, where she celebrated with a ring tap after defeating CC's Iowa in 2023. Reflecting on it, she said, being in that moment, you never realize how something can change your life? My 5 fingers and my other finger pointing at my hand could literally have changed my life for, like, forever. But Reese didn't hold back from giving her rival some props, calling her an amazing player and noting they've been competing since their AAU days. According to Reese, there's never been beef, just a competitive spirit that's followed them since high school. Acknowledging their love for the sport, hence, she says, we're gonna play on the same team one day. Caitlyn Clark has clashed with a number of players this year, her fame and popularity not sitting well with some veterans. Not to mention her rivalry with Angel Reese, her MVP debate with Aja Wilson, for a section of fans, her on-court heroics not always translating well. All this to say, the Indiana Fever guard had been under some serious pressure in her rookie season, but it's not over yet. When Nike finally signed the Iowa sensation to a long-overdue deal in April 2024, her signature shoes were expected by sometime in 2025. It's already October of 2024 and yet no update on her sneakers yet. Now, as Front Office Sports recently pointed out on X, Clark's shoulders will be burdened with even more pressure as Nike, along with Adidas, is slowly losing its market in. The post reveals numbers for different brands in 2019 and compares them to 2023. In 2019, Nike had 25% sportswear market share in the country, while Adidas had 20%. By last year, Nike went up to 24%, but Adidas took a huge drop to 10%. Now the interesting thing is that both sports apparel giants offered deals to Caitlyn Clark. For 8 years, the reigning Rookie of the Year has signed a new contract with $113 billion worth Nike for around $28 million. While it was the single richest shoe deal in women's basketball history, it still left something to be desired when compared to the NBA. It was a better renewal of number 22's nil deal with the brand that was set to expire this year. Once her signature shoe line finally arrives, probably after Aja Wilson's, it's sure to sell out massively. But as Front Office Sports points out, Nike's dominance in China is waning, with local and international competition like Anta, Li Ning, and Xtep being the major influencers. What does that mean for Caitlyn Clark's deal? Somehow make her even more popular so that Nike has a chance of surviving in China in the next several years, living up to the massive deal she stands on the receiving end of. Meanwhile, Adidas is being hit worse and even had to face fans' wrath over their supposed offer to CC. The WNBA has long been part of the equal pay conversation, but the league still had reasons to give regarding viewership. They would get paid according to how many people they brought in. Caitlyn Clark has clearly changed that in her rookie season, and even before, when she gained national attention at Iowa. Now the league can slowly afford to pay players better, but they still get more from endorsement deals. But apparently not when you're signed to Adidas. Bleacher Report revealed in an X post on April 24 all the different brand deals Clark had been offered before signing with Nike. Puma had said bidding would start at $3 million per year. Under Armour's deal was $16 million for 4 years, while Adidas offered $6 million for 4 years, with a signature shoe included. Logically, Under Armour would have paid more money than Nike but for less years. But what really raised the hackles of fans was Adidas, with many calling it disrespectful. But luckily for the Fever guard, Nike swooped in with a save. Now only if they would announce some news about Clark's signature shoe line. Now that her rookie campaign has concluded, Indiana Fever superstar Caitlyn Clark finally has some free time after playing 2 full seasons of basketball, one with the Iowa Hawkeyes and one with the Fever, over the past calendar year. Although the sport of basketball is part of Clark's DNA at this point, which is why it's no surprise that she has had a hard time distancing herself from the game during the current WNBA offseason. However, rather than being on the court, which she has also been doing, the 22-year-old is taking advantage of this time by attending other teams' basketball games. She sat courtside at an Indiana Pacers preseason game alongside Fever teammate Kelsey Mitchell last month and has made her presence known at the Butler University men's basketball team's games this season because her boyfriend Connor McCaffrey was added to Butler's coaching staff. During the University of Butler men's basketball season opener against Missouri State University, which took place at Hinkle Fieldhouse in downtown Indianapolis on November 5, she went viral for the facial expressions she made when being shown on the Jumbotron. Clark is also attending Butler's home game against Austin Peay on Friday and is getting attention for another reason. The 22-year-old was seen wearing what appears to be prescription glasses at the game. More than 200,000 people attended Taylor Swift's 3 concerts in downtown Indianapolis last weekend. And one of those thousands of people in attendance was Kansas City Chiefs tight end Travis Kelce, aka Swift's boyfriend. In an episode of New Heights, Travis and his brother, former NFL All-Pro center Jason Kelce, talk about Travis' experience going to Night 2 of Eras Tour in Indianapolis. "I wanted to see Tay one more time before this thing got closed up," Travis said. "I'll tell you what, man, the American crowds, they did not disappoint. I heard that it was a lot more rowdy this time around, knowing that she was coming back to stop through America one last time before the show was over with." Travis proceeded to gush about how incredible the show was. "I'll tell you what, man, that thing was rocking. Absolutely rocking," Travis said. "If you don't believe me, Pat McAfee had one of the greatest show reviews that I've ever seen." Travis even turned to former Indianapolis Colts punter turned sports analyst Pat McAfee, who gave Swift a rave review, to help make his point. McAfee praised every aspect of Swift's show, from the stories and jokes she told, to the variety of the songs showcasing each era, to the dances, to the light show, to the light-up wristbands, etc. in the podcast. Travis also talked about meeting Indiana Fever guard and reigning WNBA Rookie of the Year Caitlyn Clark for the first time. "She's awesome. She loves being out there in Indianapolis, says it's a fun city. We're both just true Midwesterners to the heart," Travis said. "It was cool catching up with her." Jason then asked Travis if Clark's dance moves were as good as her jump shot, to which Travis replied she was into the show for sure. He said Clark was with her mom and a few friends and how this was the 3rd or 4th show of Swift she had been to. "She's a Swiftie through and through, man," Travis said. "I think she's just having fun going up to the shows and taking her friends and family and getting everybody to experience Tay up there on stage, making the entire 69,000, 70,000 people go, expletive, nuts for 3.5 to 4 hours. It's a good place to go if you're looking to have fun, that's for, expletive, sure," Jason said. "Ain't that the truth?" Travis replied.